What inspired me to create Women for Women International was the rape camps and the concentration camps in Bosnia. Rather, not inspired me as much as what triggered me to create Women for Women International. That was between 92 to 95. They were rape camps where women were given numbers, and when they had their numbers called, they got gang raped anywhere from a period of a month to a period of 9 months. They were not released unless they were in prisoners exchange. Often women were made sure that they were not released until they were in late stages of pregnancy, and that was in the 90s. And I simply read about the rape camps in Bosnia and concentration camps in Bosnia in the newspaper, in Newsweek actually, and that's what triggered me saying we have to do something. So I called other groups. I was 23 years at a time. I did not have much experience. I had only been a new immigrant to America, and I really wanted to help. And I called other women's groups and I said, how can I help? And at that time people were saying, well, come after a few months, we don't know how to do it yet. And I'm like, but there are rape camps and concentration camps. We can't wait for a few months. That's what people did during the Holocaust, is that we're not sure. I don't know if we can do it right now, later. We know it right now. It's showing on our TV screens and our magazines. So it started from a very simple attempt of saying, well, I'm going to do something about it. And eventually was connected to the Unitarian Church in DC, who said, we will support you for a year until you stand on your feet. So I started with very simple efforts from zero. I had been newlywed. My former husband and I co-founded the organization from zero, nada, nothing, nishtaghyan wala ishi. We had not one penny, but we had a passion and a commitment saying we can't see injustice in front of us and do nothing about it. And that's what really triggered us starting Women for Women International. And from there, we started within 3 months. We went to Croatia, we interviewed women. It was the most humbling experience and continues to be a humbling experience. 3 months after the founding of Women for Women, we helped 30 women. That's how I went back. I distributed money and letters to 30 women. And 16 years later, we have impacted about 200,000 women directly. Worked with about 1 million people, their families and children, distributed about $79 million, and work in about 8 countries. And it all started from a very simple effort back in 1993. I would never have thought that this would be possible, but it's a blessing and it's an incredible privilege to be in the journey. The Women for Women International works predominantly or only in conflict and post-conflict areas. In wars, women are the majority of the victimized population. 90% of modern war casualties are civilians, 75% of which are women and children. 80% of the refugees around the world are women and children. So one is focusing on the ones who are getting impacted the most. And they have the most impact on how to rebuild. So we don't go directly to the children. We're saying prerequisite to helping the children, you've got to help the mothers first. But there are also women who are not mothers, and how can we help them? That you cannot actually talk about the stability of the whole society without having the stability of women. And that in the midst of wars and in the aftermath of war, you cannot build a country without having stronger women in it, without having strong women. We always say at Women for Women International, strong women lead to strong nations. It is time for us to take ownership of our own voices and our own resources. And while the politicians and financiers and everyone in the world have a duty and obligations to make this world a better place, we need to also take ownership of our own voice. So the appeal for Women is equally to the ones who can give and say, it is our turn, our own responsibility. That doesn't take responsibility away from anybody else, but it starts from here. How can we help our sisters? And also demand others to help our sisters who are being so victimized and marginalized in war. Well, I can't envision how we can talk about the building of strong economies, strong democracy, strong societies without the full inclusion of women in every decision-making table. What we don't discuss is the backline discussion of war, and that is usually led by women. And it has everything to do with how do you keep life going? How do you keep the schools open and food coming to the household, and keep the kids living a bit of a normal life as much as possible, and the hospitals operating. And that is usually the backline discussion is happening on the woman. It's led by women. Peace is, as one woman, is about having, you know, as many people tell you actually, it's about having a stability in one's life. It's being able to send the kids to school without being bombed. It's having a roof. It's having a job, 3 meals a day. It's very, very basic. Peace, as one woman in Sudan told me, is about having a toenails. Because during the war she walked for 25 years, for 18 years rather, she walked, and she did not sleep in one place more than 5 nights, and she did not have toenails because of the walking. And for the first time in her life since the signing of the peace agreement, she was able to stay in one place. Unless we are able to define peace from a toenails perspective, that what does it mean to be in one place? What does it mean to have a stability in a society? We're missing out on the discussion. And I would say it's the same on any discussion. How can we define democracy or sustainable democracy if all what we're talking with is a political elite who are not connected to the rest of the people? How are we talking about, who are not often, how can we talk about economic development if we are not talking about people at the grassroots level who at the end of the day, they actually are demanding they want food and base electricity and basic education. So without the inclusion of women in all the discussions, I have a hard time seeing how we can restructure even the financial crisis, to be the financial sector, to be honest, without the full inclusion of 55% of the society who bring a different element and understanding and definitions on all aspects of life and discussion.